Hello guys, Horn MA13 here with a quick 10-minute main card preview because I had my internet cut off. I'm currently sat on a toilet at my uncle's house and I'm just going to do the main card because the card's already started. It's an earlier start time, it's in Abu Dhabi, so I'm going to quickly get into that. First fight on the main card, Shara Magomedov versus Armen Petrosyan. Sharon Magomedov, obviously, he's looked good in his last few fights. His last fight was also in the Arab Emirates. He looked good. He got the win. He was throwing a lot of kicks like he does in all his fights. And I think that's probably going to be what he's going to do here. He's facing another wrestler. He's probably going to have to keep his range because he's obviously got impairment visually. And I think he'll be able to probably stay at range for most of the fight because he's probably a bit faster than Petrosyan. And he's also younger and fresher, so he's probably going to be able to, I don't know, not particularly get drawn into that kind of fight where Petrosyan's going to want to get him to the ground. He's probably going to be able to keep it at range and stay in the fight. And then once Sharopovedov gets into his groove and starts landing, I think Petrosyan's probably going to just fold because I feel like in his few previous fights he's not looked great when he's fought people who put pressure on him. He likes to go forward and kind of bully his opponents, and when other people put that on him, he doesn't like it. And I think that's going to be the kind of fight he's going to get here because once Magomedov gets his groove, I think he's going to be able to take him down and hurt him, and that's the way I see this fight going. I think he's going to get him in the second round, probably get him to the ground and hurt him, and then he's going to hurt him bad enough to get him in a submission and rear naked choke round 2 for Shara Magomedov. Fight number 2 on the main card, Lerone Murphy versus Dan Ige. I think Dan Ige beats anyone who's not good, and he does beat people like Andre Fili, people who aren't quite top 15 material. But Lerone Murphy, I think, is just good enough everywhere that he can be all well-rounded enough to take him, anywhere the fight goes, take him to deep waters. I feel like Danny Ige is one of them fighters. A lot of his finishes come early. A lot of his wins are finishes early rounds, round 1, 2. And I feel like if he goes past the midway point of the round 2, he gets a bit, runs out of ideas. He's got a great right hand. He can knock people out. He's got power. But I think he's not going to have his own way in this fight. I think Lerone Murphy's definitely got the potential to be top 10, top 5. I think he's definitely good enough to beat people at the lower end of the top 15 like Dan Ige. He's got underrated kicks. He likes to kick people to the body. He likes to switch it up to the head. He also can grapple, which a lot of people don't know. And I think he's going to get a lot of success in this fight because he's facing someone who likes to just brawl. Danny Ige, his last fight against Diogo Lopez, everyone give him a pat on the back for showing up short notice and saving that fight. But I think this is going to be a step too far. I think Lerone Murphy's one of the best prospects in the top 15 in the featherweight division. He's big actually. That's something to mention actually, speaking of lightweight. He's very big for the featherweight division, and Ige is one of the smaller featherweights, and I think enough people haven't been talking about that. So I think he's going to get the win, and I think Lerone Murphy's going to get this one by decision. Moving on, the next fight on the main card, Magomed Ankalaev versus Alexander Rakic. Now, Ankalaev, a lot of people think he's the uncrowned champion at light heavyweight. A lot think that he beat Blachowicz in his recent title fight. Well, it was 2 years ago, but it was his most recent fight for the title. And he did look good in that fight. He was throwing a lot of kicks. For a Dagestani, he doesn't really wrestle that much. Magomedov, who we mentioned previously, he even wrestles a bit, but I'd say he even wrestles more than Ankalaev does. And Ankalaev doesn't use any grappling really in fights unless he has to, which he probably will have to if he fights for the title against Pereira, even though he stupidly said he's not going to shoot for any takedowns, but he is inbred, he's from the Arab Emirates region, and he's at home here, so he's going to be very, very confident, I'm sure, that this is the fight that gets him a title shot, because a big win here, the crowd are going to go crazy, and it's going to be an in-demand thing for him to be fighting next for the title, and it is a pretty hype fight, him versus Pereira. I think a lot of people think that's the boogeyman in the division for Pereira with his style. So I think as far as this fight against Rakic, I think Rakic has a similar kind of style to what you'd expect a Dagestani to have. He's quite a grappling heavy fighter, whereas Ankalaev likes to throw leg kicks, keep it at range, and he likes to throw a lot of jabs, and he likes to obviously like in the Johnny Walker fight, he can land that knockout punch. So that could be something to look out for. But I think we're more likely going to see Ankalaev just pick at range, leg kick, and I can see him getting to a point where Rakic tries to take him down, but because he's so worn out from all the stuff on the feet, he's not able to get the takedown successfully, and then Ankalaev could latch up something like maybe a guillotine and then switch it to a rear naked choke. I can see it finishing in kind of a awkward reversal on the ground, and Ankalaev, because he does have the grappling skill, he just doesn't shoot the takedowns. So I see this fight actually ending with Rakic going for a lazy takedown and suffering the consequences and getting choked out by rear naked choke in the third round. So a final prediction, I think he's going to wear him out in the first 2 rounds, Ankalaev, and then when he's tired, he's going to shoot for a panic takedown as Rakic, and he's going to get choked out for it. So round 3, late rear naked choke for Ankalaev. And that's that. Moving on to the co-main event, which is Robert the Reaper Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev Bars. Now this fight, I think a lot of people are underestimating Whittaker. I think Whittaker is the most confident he's been in a long time. He's coming off a brutal stoppage against Aliskerov. He also looked a lot better than Strickland did in his Paulo Costa fight. I thought his fight against Costa was a lot more impressive, and it was an actually exciting fight to watch. And he even showed a chin in that fight, which you don't see often from Whittaker. So it was great all round for him. But I feel like this fight, he's fighting someone who's obviously been hyped up for a long time, Khamzat. He's fighting in his home territory, even though he's Swedish, but, they have the same religion. What can I say? And I think he's going to look good in this fight, Robert Whittaker. I think he's never been this confident, probably since his first title shot against Yo Romero. I think that's probably the most confident he's been since then. And I think since the DDP loss, he's been looking really, really sharp. But I do think Khamzat does have the ability to be able to win this fight if he switches the style up and don't go all out for the finish in round 1. And I think from his interviews, he's going to do that. I think he's going to take it slower, which is going to really, really confuse Whittaker. And I think he's going to lull Whittaker into a false sense of security. And I think he's actually going to catch him on the feet, because Whittaker does this thing where he tends to, when he don't feel like the opponent's engaging, he likes to kind of take the fight to them. And I think he's going to get caught in an exchange early in the second round. I think he's going to think the first round is going to be a crazy pace from Khamzat and be a bit wary. He's going to get comfortable by the second round thinking, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And then he's going to try and exchange, get a bit too cocky, and Khamzat's going to clip him heavy. Because I think Robert's got some false confidence from that Costa fight, taking that kick to the chin, that spinning wheel kick. But I feel like what he forgets is things like that. That was at the end of the, I think, first round when he got caught with that. If he'd had any longer to go at him, Costa, he would have probably got finished there. So I think Khamzat has got more power than Costa, and I think he can take him out on the feet with a clip, probably some kind of hook, but in an exchange what Robert Whittaker's initiated. And I can see him catching him like he did Gilbert Burns a few years ago. If you remember, in the second round, he caught Gilbert Burns in that fight of the year and hurt him, and then he went for the ground and pound, but then the bell saved him. I see a similar thing happening here, but there being enough time where Khamzat can get the ground and pound finish and take Whittaker out in the second round, probably midway through, when Robert Whittaker starts exchanging and getting a bit of confidence, because he has gained a lot of confidence in his past 2 fights, and I think that's going to cause him a defeat here and cost him. So I think Khamzat, round 2, finish by TKO, ground and pound, after clipping him on the whiskers. Moving on to the main event, we're finally here. Fight everyone's been waiting for. Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. Now in my notes here, my extensive notes, I've got that Holloway has a big advantage here with length, which I don't think enough people are mentioning. Now if you think and look at Ilia's record, he's not fought many tall opponents, he's not fought many people range, and the last one he did fight at lightweight, Jai Herbert caused him trouble. Head kick, and could have finished him there. That could have been really bad for Ilia, and not many people bring that up. They just make out he's had this absolutely clean, exquisite rise to the top. No, he's had issues. He had a few issues against Ryan Hall, but he ended up just embarrassing him in the end. But I feel like he's got the all-round game where he got through both of those fights. He got through the Ryan Hall fight with grappling, and he got through the ground and pound, and he got through the Jai Herbert fight with his striking when he got him with a hook after being head kicked and nearly finished. So I think this is going to be a really interesting fight, but I think Ilya has got a lot more tools to win because his grappling is amazing, and I feel like when you fight a taller opponent and you have that lower centre of gravity, if you're a shorter opponent against a taller guy like Ilya has, you have a lot more balance in your takedowns. You have a lot more better takedown defence, and I feel like Max Holloway isn't going to shoot in this fight, but I do feel like if Ilya shoots, he's going to try and reverse it, and I feel like the stronger, shorter, stockier guy is going to win those exchanges. And I think Ilya wins this fight by cutting the cage off and getting Max, in positions that he feels uncomfortable. I feel like Max at space has got really good kicks, similar to Jai Herbert. Obviously, I'm not comparing Max Holloway to Jai Herbert. Jai Herbert's a bum. But as far as kicks, and I feel like if Ilya can cut the range, cut the cage off and make it really, really uncomfortable for Max, that's where he gets the win and wins rounds and gets his takedowns in them areas, because it's hard to take Max down in space, but he can get the takedowns close to the cage. And I think that's where the fight's going to be won. I don't think Ilya's going to get the finish, but I do think he's going to win this fight. I think it's going to be a 3-2, but I think it's going to be a comfortable 3-2, and he's going to win clearly. So that's my